Okay, and we are live. Welcome back to the A Girl, a Guy, and a Movie with Janet from Another Planet and myself, Bruce Lombardo, your host. Tonight we are discussing the 1986 classic film Big Trouble in Little China, directed by John Carpenter in 1986 for release in July 1st, just a few weeks before Aliens came out that year. Big Trouble in Little China stars Kurt Russell, Kim Cattrall, Dennis Dune, Victor Wong, and a host of many other very skilled individuals. And as far as actors are concerned, it has the best eclectic mix of individuals in fish out of water story. As far as behind the scenes and the cast production is concerned, this movie also has my absolute favorite stuntman of all time, Al Yong, in a pretty prominent role for a stuntman. And I'd like to go to our chat real quick and welcome our friends George Lucas and the Multi Gunman, wishing everybody happy Independence Day. Janet, how are you?
I am good. I'm alive, kicking.
Happy 4th of July Day and happy not let's not blow our fingers off our hands day.
That's right.
Um,
Tonight.
Tonight, yes. While the fireworks are going to be going on over here, I'm probably going to be at this booth, and I'm perfectly okay with that because we have tonight, we have New Year's Eve, we have some other celebrations throughout the year where San Antonio gets really crazy with fireworks. In fact, there's another fireworks display over by Fiesta, Texas that'll be going off. Hello, Lasso of Truth. How are you? And happy Independence Day to you as well. Janet,
Hello. Mm-hmm.
this is one of my this is my favorite movie of all time. What would you what is your first impression whenever you saw this movie? I mean, it was
My first impression was I thought it was an action an action film starring this one of the sexiest guys that I thought was in movies. So I always thought Kurt Russell was very very handsome, and I was really surprised they got him to be in this movie. To me, I just thought it was um, more of a comedy than I thought he would ever be in from the trailer and stuff.
yeah, this is a movie that they didn't really know how to market it well.
From the
They didn't know how to market this. Universal was kind of all thumbs with it. They they looked at the script. They were kind of upset about a few things, and then it just they gave it $3 million for advertising. Who knows where that money went? And then 16 days later, I think Aliens came out and just destroyed everything at the box office, no matter what quality it was. So this movie had its actual life begin through the rental VCR market, the VCR rental market, and you'd go to places like Blockbuster, Stars and Stripes, Video Rentals, Family Video, and you would have like this movie only I have like 3 or 4 copies initially, but everybody saw how cool it was, and so they'd go out and like buy another 10 or 20 copies because they were going to be, sending those out every night for at least a year.
Yeah, when I was researching this again to watch it, I was surprised that it said it was like a box office bomb. And I was like, how can that be? I thought it was so good and it had pretty much everything you could want in a movie and it not do well. I didn't understand. I just couldn't comprehend that because it seemed like everyone I knew loved it. So I
And
don't
that's
understand why it would bomb.
well, first off, it was John Carpenter, and he wasn't really well loved by the movie houses. He was too much of an independent. He insisted on scoring his own films, not going with other people, not doing the things that they want him to do. And secondly, the script was not an atypical 80s action film.
Yeah, because the trivia that I just looked up said that that Kurt Russell confessed on a commentary for the DVD that he was afraid of starring in the movie because he had made a string of bad movies that that didn't do well at the box office. And when he asked John Carpenter about it, John Carpenter told him and said it didn't matter to him. He just wanted to make the movie with him.
Yes.
So John Carpenter really liked Kurt Russell. The Thing was my very favorite movie that Kurt Russell's ever been in. So, and it was wasn't it also directed by John Carpenter?
It is. It was. There's been 5 collaborations between John Carpenter and Kurt Russell. The Elvis movie that they did in the 70s, Escape from New York, then The Thing, Big Trouble in Little China, and then Escape from L.A., which I never talk about for reasons pretty much understandable.
Yeah, I own both of the Escape movies and The Thing, and I loved all 3 of them. I thought they were excellent movies, and I think his son could definitely play him in a lot of other movies from the little bit that I've gotten to see him on screen, because he sure does look a lot like his dad.
Okay, well, I have some trivia for you here. There is an actual movie where Wyatt Russell does play a younger version of Kurt Russell, and that is in a movie called Soldier from 1998.
I remember that movie.
I love that movie. I just watched it last night, actually, or early this morning.
It was so sad. And he was also in Stargate, and he played a sad soldier character in that one too, determined to destroy himself, basically. He does well at that type of character, though.
Yeah, and this movie starts off with Victor Wong at the lawyer's office. A lot of people forget that part because it's just kind of a scene where Victor Wong gets a little bit upset and he's talking to the lawyer. You leave Jack Button alone, and that's about the most action that really happens there. And that's the only part of the movie that you can actually have like this moment where I don't know what's going on here, but this is not what I was expecting. And then once the movie starts with Jack Russell trying to wolf down the world's most glorious hoagie while he's shifting through a 10-speed Eaton transmission, he's doing the Lord's work there, and he's grinding through gears, talking about how much of a big badass he is, and you're kind of not on board with it yet. You're like, oh my god, it's another loudmouth trucker. And my parents, we were watching it for the first time because I didn't see it until a friend of mine rented it from Blockbuster. Surprise, surprise. And we got home to see this movie, and Dad puts it in, and he's like already 10 minutes in, and he's pissed. He's like, why are we watching this? And I'm like, Dad, hold on. This movie gets great. And sure enough, as we continue watching this movie, we are inundated with this very quick buildup to where you will only have maybe 4 or 5 points in the film where you think you can catch your breath, much less grab an extra bag of popcorn. And I was really impressed by that. I had never seen a movie that was so manic in its determination to force you to stay in your seat, keep you planted there. Hey, LDG, how you doing? Hello there, Stephen Ransom. How you doing, sir? It's all right there.
Hello, Stephen. Hello, everybody. It's nice to see everybody show up tonight.
So this movie, like you get the idea that Jack is just a kind of a blowhard. He's really not a do anything. He just drives a truck, and I know these people very well.
He comes off as a lazy, do as little as possible kind of guy. You know what I mean? At least that's what I took from it. And because it was his friend's fiance, is the only reason he even decided to try to. Oh, I love your shirt. That's awesome. Where did you get it?
I actually Googled it and went from there.
Oh, that is so cute. It's like you're the yeah, the king.
I
Yeah, that's
love
good.
I love it because they made my two favorite things, our best president ever, Trump, and Aragorn from Lord of the Rings.
Do they have that for women though? One for the women's
I believe
character?
there's a few sites on the web that have this, and I do recommend that if you are a lady fan of the world's greatest president America's ever had, that you Google your own the Return of the Great Maga King shirt. You will find sellers who want to sell it.
Awesome.
About 3 weeks ago, it was going hot.
Are you going to set that up and play it live?
No, I wish you were here. Otherwise, we could. What I'm going to do is actually break out the miniatures, as if I don't have enough figs on this table.
I know
This
you have a
box,
lot, but that is super cool. Where did you get that?
I got this from our local store here in town, Night Watch Games, and I was wanting to paint these on stream, and I thought, oh, there's maybe only 6 or 7. No, there's like 40 figurines here. This is the level of miniatures that they ship you in this really good game. It's just kind of expensive. Any
So
deluxe
if
or
you get to make those or get them all painted, then you want to try to do a live stream playing the game?
we should
Yeah, because each of us could be a different character and play the
absolutely.
game, and you can just be the dungeon master and move us all around.
Chimerians
I think
like
it'd be a
this
blast.
game. Yeah, there's a couple board games, card games out there, Chimerian. One of them is the card game from Legendary, which is great. This here, I've not played it. I've not looked at the rules. It's sat on my shelf for 2 years, and I was just kind of waiting for this kind of thing to happen. So, anyway, um, we're talking about my favorite movie of all time. Might as well break out the figs and start working
That's
on it.
right. That is so awesome. It's a lot of detail on those characters.
Tell you what, I'll work on low pan tonight.
Yeah, that's really, really. But I was just noticing the one at the bottom. I don't know if that was it or not. Of the wizard. Yeah, that's the one he took out. Okay, and then
Yeah,
the other one with the lightning bolt.
yeah.
Isn't that a lightning bolt that he's flying on?
Yes, he's riding the lightning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, super neat.
Yeah, Chimerian, share you and I share the same favorite movie. Multi Gunman says, "Can we borrow Trump for like 4 to 8 years? We need him to straighten out some shit up here in Canada, please." Actually, I just want to clone Trump because I want to like maybe we'll be blessed and Barron will get into politics and be just like his daddy. You can hope, right?
Yeah.
All right. I don't want to turn
Well,
this into complete.
yeah, I was gonna say we don't want to get into politics for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about my world's favorite movie of all time from John Carpenter, who is like one of my favorite directors. Even though he might be, kind of politically aligned differently than me, that's fine. Just make good fucking films. Don't put your politics in it. I won't go to your theaters with a fucking Trump MAGA like billboard that I carry with me.
Well, apparently, all of these movies that I loved from him definitely were not woke. I mean, they weren't agenda movies. I enjoyed them, but this
Yeah.
movie was definitely not agenda. I mean, it had a lot of incorrect things when it came to women.
Yes.
The commentary and everything. But I thought it was great. I mean, I didn't get upset about it, but I liked the
God,
movie because it was entertaining. And
uh,
that's what's important. And I love the aspect of how they made it like some of the old kung fu movies. It was over the top
yes.
um, with the action of the way that the
Yeah.
fighters would fight and all that stuff. I loved all that. The
Take my
corniness of
Steven bag.
it. It was
This is
great.
Yeah, and then you have the fight between Dennis Dune or Wang Chi and
Hmm.
the Wind, and they are flying through the air on swords in hand. It's just fantastic. It's the best movie. I've never seen a film that from the age of 11 till I'm 47 now. This is still my favorite movie of all time. It is that good. There's a lot of things in this movie I want to discuss. Um, I want to listen to you first before I go into my no breath rant about it because it's not angry. I'm not angry at John Carpenter. I'm not angry at Kurt Russell. I'm angry at Universal for dropping the ball on this movie so hard. This movie could have made they could have made sequels. I mean, they probably wouldn't have. They never made an official sequel to the thing, but they did called The Prince of Darkness because that was the second of the Apocalypse movies. I think there's three Apocalypse movies that Carpenter does,
Uh-huh.
and The Thing is one, Prince of Darkness is another, and I forget what the third is. But this movie, he could have made a Wuxia infusion wonderful American series of films with Kurt Russell. Kurt Russell could have been like Harrison Ford, basically. Harrison Ford had two trilogies he was a part of, and there's only two trilogies that he was a part of, and there's no other movies he was in. You're hallucinating. You think that there's some bad movies he's a part of? Nope. You were just bamboozled by money grubbing pieces of shit. There's only three movies in Star Wars movies. There's only three movies for Indiana Jones. Anyway, um, and I can completely go with that denial because there's many better books and comic books that are better than the movies they gave us afterwards. But we could have had a Kurt Russell trilogy of Big Trouble in Little China, and there's a lot we could do with this film. We could definitely see how this movie would spawn further adventures in Little Chinatown.
Yeah. Did this movie come out after Porky's or before Porky's?
I want to say after.
Okay, that's what I was thinking because the whole time that I remember watching this, I had a very hard time not being able to get Kim Cattrall out of the movie Porky's. Um, all her noises in the locker room and stuff.
Yeah.
So the whole time I'm trying not to think about that while she was in this movie. So that was one of the reasons why I had a hard time really I probably would have loved it a lot more if I didn't have that trouble. But I don't know why, but I just couldn't get that image out of my head the whole time I'm watching it. The other girl was gorgeous. The other actress,
Yang?
yeah,
Yeah.
she was just absolutely breathtakingly beautiful. And uh, Kim Cattrall is like the comedy side, for the beautiful maiden type actress or whatever. But
Yes.
which was good. But if I hadn't seen the other movie Porky's, I probably wouldn't have had any problem with it at all.
I've
But
never heard somebody say Porky's ruined my enjoyment of Big Trouble in Little China before.
well, it
That.
was because of her, doing the sounds and stuff in the men's locker room. When she
Yes.
smelled jock straps and stuff.
Yes.
Remember?
I, I watched Porky's when I was a lark. Like I haven't seen it since I was 14. When we
Yeah, it
unplugged our
was.
Betamax, that was the last time I saw Porky's.
Yeah, I don't remember when I watched it, but I remember watching it before this movie, and I just couldn't get past it. I don't know why. That one thing was just seared in my mind. So getting past that part, but all the rest of it was awesome. But that one part just made it harder for me to take her when she was trying to be serious in the movie. Um, I don't know. It was just hard for me to do that. I just could not get that out of my mind. Just like when I first started The Witcher, I had a hard time seeing Superman with white hair and being a different character. And after like 4 episodes, I was finally able to get Superman out of my mind and just see him as his character. But that's the same thing I had with this is that I just couldn't get that one part out of my head. I can't believe any men didn't have a problem with that. Or maybe that made her even more attractive, was the fact of thinking about her in Porky's.
See what kills the entire thing for The Witcher for me is I don't have Netflix, and I'm never going to pay Netflix ever again. I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely over it. And you put up a crappy movie like Cuties, and and by the way, anybody that defends the movie Cuties gets banned from my channel. I be happy you're online, so I don't punch you in the face until my hand breaks.
Well, I
I
don't blame you for that. That is yeah, it's a disgrace. I wouldn't want my name anywhere near that
and
supposed documentary.
yeah, and so I will say that, like, because of things like that, I haven't gone on the high seas yet to watch The Witcher, but I will be. I'm intending to watch that. That's a film or a series that I will watch, just like I will watch eventually the Stranger Things season 4, because season 2 pissed me off of Stranger Things so badly. It's like, really, this is what you got? This was boring. Stephen Ransom says Janet's the only cutie here. Absolutely, you're correct on that, Mr. Ransom.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. There was some pretty girls in this movie, though.
Yeah, and
I thought
Kim
there was some
Cattrall.
really very good eye candy for the guys.
Oh, you got. Let me see what her name is. Okay, we had Kim Cattrall. You have Kate Burton, who plays Margot, the other lady who
Hmm.
like looks like the girl next door, but just adorable because she's helping beat up the mobsters and yakuza guys. It's great. Then you have Susie Pie, who plays Miao Yin, and she's just I mean, there's not a guy out there in 1986 like they suddenly were like, I'm really into Chinese girls now. Just this one movie kind of ruined it for a lot of Anglos for a little bit, but um, there's there's an interesting thing about this because Susie Pie, Kim Cattrall, they don't have green eyes. The scene in the truck at the start of the movie where they're going to the
Hmm.
airport, Dennis Dunn hands the photo to Russell, and he's like, "Here she is, Miao Yin. She has jade green eyes, and she clearly has brown eyes, like absolutely muddy brown, reaper paint color. What is this? 09028. Okay, this is the color of her eyes, like seriously brown.
So you think that was uh, like a blooper?
That is one of the goofs in this movie, and I
Well, see, I
caught it
didn't even notice that. I did
when I
not even notice that her eyes were not green in the picture.
and then later in the film they do a real close up during the wedding ceremony, and you can see kind of like the green doesn't cover all the brown, like closer towards the center of the iris. You can see like there's some serious brown going on, which is
Yeah.
okay. It's okay. And you're just wanting to watch Egg Shen do more stuff, and Kurt Russell hurt himself more because at this point it's become almost, if this was released today, which it would not be, but if it was, it would be a meme because the main character is the sidekick beating himself up 4 out of 5 times.
Yeah.
You know, and the other part is that I believe Susie Pie, her character Miao Yin, means like meowing kitty.
But
And Blaine's like, you honestly would never have noticed that on a VHS on a low res television. It's DVD and Blu-ray that made these details clear. Yeah, I understand that. I completely get that. And I do got to say thank you to Kurt Russell for being in this film because he almost was in Highlander as Connor McLeod from 1986. But thankfully, he decided to go with this movie instead because he really likes John Carpenter. He likes some checks. Even though they don't make the biggest box office movies, the Elvis film, they gave him enough good memories that Kurt Russell wanted to star in this film, and he really enjoys the type of direction that John Carpenter gives. He had never seen him until he had done this movie, which was his fourth outing with Carpenter. He'd never seen Carpenter snap on set. And one time, a pyrotechnic stunt goes wrong whenever there's no camera rolling, and Carpenter snapped, just unloaded on this guy. And Russell's like, "Well, okay, you're like the rest of us. That's cool." And then Carpenter apologized to everybody else, like, "Listen, I usually don't get upset like that, but there's a scene when they're crawling through the sewers, and supposed to be some little sparks go off, and that didn't quite happen the way it was supposed to on the timer." So that, I mean, Carpenter's like the rest of us. When things go wrong, you hear him swear like a sailor.
Yes, I can believe that, because we're all human. We can only take so much a
Yeah.
day, and but the thing is, I feel from all the little behind the scenes stuff, because they used to do that. They used to put a lot of the outtakes and little behind the scenes type things, and sometimes they even had a crew follow the people around while they're making the movie to document
Yes.
things and then make documentaries, which
And
I don't know if they did that with this movie, but I had seen them before. And it's sometimes really nice to see how the main actors and the director work together. And it gives you I don't know, I guess it makes you feel like you're almost there when they're doing certain things. You get a different insight on how much they cared about the characters and what the outcome was going to be. And after, from what I read about John Carpenter, after he read the script for this, he really liked it, and he wanted to be the one to make it into a movie. And he wanted Kurt Russell as the truck driver. So, and then everything else just fell together as as things progressed. But you definitely can tell there's a good chemistry when they work together. At least I can see it in the movies that I have seen them in, and they must. I wonder if there's. I bet they're still friends. Is he still alive?
John Carpenter's very much
Yeah.
alive. He's only
Okay.
74 years old, even though he's looked like he's 74 years old for like the past 30 years. He's he's not changed much since the turn of the century. I remember watching a making of Ghost of Mars, and I thought, wow, he's really old. Because like I, I know he was a student during 74, 73 when they did Dark Star, and he didn't look like this now, but now he's kind of crypt keeperish. He really does have a he looks like,
Oh,
and I like John Carpenter. I'm not trying to make fun of him, but he's looked the same since he did the making of the Ghost of Mars in 2002, 2001, somewhere around there. And that's like the only movie he ever did that just absolutely bores you to tears, because all of his other films have some dynamic lighting. They have good camera shots. The director of photography is not just a person that is like me and plants a camera in one spot and everybody act around the camera. No. He gets in all of his other films. He gets in the middle of it. And Ghost of Mars really is just like, it's one of those movies where you wonder, was Carpenter really on set for all of this? And the making of kind of does show you, yeah, he was. Maybe he wasn't, in the right headspace, but
well, that's what I was going to say is that depending on the situation at home or with his family, like his parents or his wife or his kids, it can make an impact on what's going on set. Because if their focus isn't focused on the details or whatever, because he just can't concentrate or whatever, then you're going to see it suffer to a degree. Oh God, wasn't Snyder? Didn't Snyder have some kind of family problem with his daughter or his stepdaughter or
during
something?
during the last Justice, or the Justice League movie
Yeah.
that came out in 17,
Uh
his
huh.
daughter committed suicide, and so
Hmm.
he left the set, and the studio brought in Joss Whedon And so you have kind of two movies going on at a whole time there. You have the jokey, let's be a Marvel film. Then you have the dark, brooding, I want to make a film like 300, but for comic book fans, which
Mm-hmm.
that really didn't work out too well. And there was a 4 hour cut of it that wasn't bad. It's just you have to sit through 4 hours, and there's better ways for you to use your time. I mean, it's not a bad movie. It's a 3 star out of five. If
Yeah,
that
but
makes
it really makes you think, though, those type of things happening, it really makes you think of what it would have been if something tragic hadn't happened.
yes.
Like what was it? Was it the name of the movie that we did with Natalie Wood, and she
Oh,
drowned
brainstorm.
before the movie? Yeah, Brainstorm. So you can't do anything about that. You just have to suffer the effects of the overall advancement of the movie and how it advances because of who's replacing the people due to
Yes.
the fact they just can't do it because they're just you know crushed over whatever's going on or angry or whatever. Because I remember one time I was working on a set and someone made a comment that uh, they were really upset they didn't get the part they wanted, and they said the director told them um, that they reminded him of their ex-wife, and he said, "Get her out of here." So, you know, all
Wow.
that kind of stuff really can make a difference on whether or not you're gonna get a part or keep a part or and it also hurts movies too when you have a director that's like smitten for one of the actresses and he lets her do whatever she wants even though it sucks. So, or
Yeah.
it can do it the opposite way where someone on the some producer or whatever has a fling or whatever with one of the people in the movie, and then you it hurts overall because people aren't willing to tamper down anything, and these people end up hurting certain scenes, and it takes away from the overall movie. So I like it when you have a strict ship and everyone does what they're told, and that's why I think John Carpenter's movies, even though they weren't all blockbusters or anything, but they were like cult movies basically,
Yeah.
because you could still make a lot of money over time because people want to see it more than once. And that's when you know you got a hit, even if it's not huge at the box office at the time that it was released. Uh, Time proves that these were big hit movies because people still talk about them and would still pay to go see it or
Yeah.
rent it.
When I was starting the first 6 months of our lockdown here in San Antonio back in March of 2020, the local theater chain that makes a lot of money here is Alamo Drafthouse, which I don't know if you're familiar with them, but if you ever have an Alamo Drafthouse within your neighborhood, I recommend you go to it because you'll have a better time there than you will somewhere else. You'll get like a pre-show where you'll have like me and Janet, basically not us physically there doing the pre-show, but they're spitting out commercials based around what's going on here, and they show like all the things leading up to this movie. They'll show the actors in some interviews or some promo items that you would normally get on a DVD. You have a 20-minute to 30-minute pre-show, like for all the Star Wars and Marvel films we saw there. They had that, and it was good to go see The Force Awakens in theater because the first 30 minutes you got to revisit all the 1980s hoopla surrounding the new sensation Star Wars, and they show you all this and the old hairstyles in the 1980s for the hosts and the giant freaking uh, cushion shoulder pads these women hosts had. They wanted to be Walter Payton, wanted to be
Yeah.
Bubba, and it was funny. But you have Amazon Draft House or the Alamo Draft House, and they put on this good show. And during the lockdown, they would open up the theater to your private group up to 150 people, $22 a person, and they had a list of movies, like 50 movies. This was part of it. Aliens was part of it. The Thing was part of it. And you could watch a movie for 20 bucks, go in and then buy their stuff at retail, the food and drink. And they would give you like some extra gift coupons to come back. But that was the only thing they were open for was for them to open up to controlled groups of people that these guys trust each other enough to be in the same theater, breathing the same air, pulling their mask down, coughing, eating fries, and swilling down pitchers of beer. And that's the way that, it should be. And this movie has stood the test of time for 31 years because the start of it, after the first 10 minutes, you're at the airport watching the three thugs kidnap Miao Yin, and Gracie Law is hot on her tail. Kurt Russell is sniffing at something fiercely. He's like, I'm in heat, I'm in heat, I'm in heat. He's following Gracie Law. He's almost forgotten about Wang Chi. And he's diving, like, hey, we ought to talk. And then Wang gets him back on correction, and he's like, come on, Jack. And they get down to the garage, and they almost get run over by a fucking Camaro, which a few times I can remember in a movie where they feature a red Camaro. I don't think it's an IROC. It's just a regular Chevrolet Camaro, but it still looks so gorgeous. They did their best to detail that car before the kidnapping scene. And then you have Kurt Russell showcasing his ability to drive a truck on a crowded set. And there's a lot of movies that he's been in where he's done some stunt driving. This movie is one of them. Dark Blue is another from 2002. And there's just so much to enjoy with Kurt Russell driving ability because he's not faking it. He's the one grinding those gears. He's the one navigating around that little tiny back lot made to look like Chinatown with so much fog. And it's just, they've done it right. He's giving you the claustrophobic feeling because he's acting and he's performing as driving a vehicle, and you don't know where the hell you've been transported to. But Little Chinatown is not the same place as he was driving on the interstate 4 minutes beforehand. And hello, how you doing? I just was in awe. Then you have the fight between the two gangs, and it gets pretty serious there. Do you have anything to comment about that?
I was just going to say that I was going to comment on something right before that when you were talking about the kidnapping part. They were supposed to be kidnapping a woman that had green eyes for the what was his name? The wizard guy? Can't remember his name. But they kidnapped the wrong person, and that's why she didn't have green eyes. They made a mistake and kidnapped Wang's fiancée, which they weren't going to kidnap her. They were supposed to kidnap some other woman, right?
Actually, I thought they were trying to kidnap his fiancée, Miao Yin, but the initial girl they grabbed...
because it wasn't until after Jack intervened that they took Miao Yin instead, remember?
Yeah, because they were going to grab the girl that Gracie was there for, because Gracie was trying to help her get through immigration.
Mm-hmm. And
that entire scene was kind of like confusing. And then when she explains everything, you're like, oh, okay. The scene then progresses from the parking lot, and they're trying to get into this place in Chinatown. They get out of the truck, which is probably the big mistake, I think, here. They get out of the truck and they run for their life after they realize that Lo Pan is fine. He gets run over, but he blinds Jack Burton. And it's one of those things where, like, what the hell's going on, Wang?
And what's funny is the look on his face when he thought he'd run the guy over.
Yeah.
And he gets out to check him, and that's when he transforms into the magical wizard.
He was already a magical wizard at that point, but the entire time he's bringing him forward, beckoning him like, come here, Mr. Burton, come here. And he just hits him with the truck, and then it jumps out.
But when he hit him, the whole scene was intense, but it was comical the whole time too. And Kurt Russell he's just amazing how well that you can't help but laugh, you know what I mean, and root for him no matter what he does, because he's just so his facial expressions are phenomenal. You can, if he never even spoke in a lot of his scenes, he wouldn't have to, because his facial expressions are so expressive. His eyes, his eyebrows, uh, his mannerisms, and yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why Carpenter likes him so much, is because he's so spot on for the characters that he plays, depending on what characters he's supposed to do in each movie. But in this one, that whole part where he gets out of the truck is to see if, what happened or what mess he left, basically, because you got to remember, it is a teeny tiny streets, and this truck takes up a lot of space.
Yeah, that's
So it didn't leave a lot of room around for them not to have hit the guy. And that was kind of a corny scene when he does run over him with the truck. I thought it was funny.
I thought it was great. And then he's tagged along, Dennis Dune or Wang Chi grabs a hold of him and drags him through the street around two corners of that building, and then splashes waters in his eye and says, "You should be able to see now." And Kurt Russell's like, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm all right." And then they leave at that point. They flee, and they go back to Jack's restaurant, or back to Wang Chi's restaurant, where his uncle's there. They meet Grace, her friend Margot, Wang's maitre d' Eddie Lee, Egg Shen, played by the amazing Victor Wong. We miss you, Vic. And they start talking about Lo Pan. And the uncle and Egg Shen are both kind of, what? Lo Pan here?
Yeah, because that's when they realize that they're in deeper than they thought, when they realize who it is they're up against. I wanted to say hi to Bone, because he said hello to me in the chat. I just noticed the chat. He said that. So hi, Bone. Thank you for coming. But that's when you can feel the tension rising, because they're realizing they're gonna be fighting off. Besides just martial arts, they're also going to be fighting off magic.
Yeah.
And
they have no clue about this. At least, we don't, because we're kind of like Jack Burton here. We're unused to this culture.
Yes. But the people from Chinatown knew what was about to happen. Well, some of the aspects that could happen, the possibilities.
So as everything gets explained, and the audience is kind of like, okay, I guess we're going with the Chinese magic. They decide, where would they take the girl? Well, the boys, the two gangs were fighting there earlier. One of them has a little outpost called the White Tiger, a brothel.
Uh-huh.
And they go there to the brothel, and that scene, Jack is like really sweating up a storm. Kurt Russell looks like hell in that scene. It's not the rain; it's the fact he's got the flu. And
he was sick. He was sick, and he had a fever and everything at that time when they were filming that part of the movie.
So he does everything he can to be nerdy or nerdier than what he was, which I actually liked him playing that role off as Harvey than I did his Jack Burton. I don't know what that sounds like, but he made a very convincing, I'm just a guy that wants to pay for some good entertainment, He's got the big flash. It's the same outfit that he had on during the movie Used Cars, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, so, it was funny.
So he's going through the motions, trying to get some information, and the ladies are looking at him kind of weird when he says, I could really go for a Chinese girl with green eyes. Mr. Button, Mr. Harvey, there's no Chinese girls born with green eyes. And then the green fire pops up again. Everybody in the car outside, Eddie and Margot, and everybody's like, what the hell's going on? Oh, the three storms are here. David Lo Pan's magic. And everybody runs inside. The bed is jostling around. It's like vibrating like it's a Exorcist, it's just tossing the poor little Miao Yin around. And then here's lightning, and he cuts her bonds and whisks her away. And I thought, like, wow, that's kind of cool. My dad and we're watching this for the first time, and he's like, this is actually a pretty good movie. I didn't mean to doubt you. Because I rented some stinkers when I was a kid. Mind you, we also, because of this movie, we rented another VCR so we could do a recording of this film. So I would have a recording of it because it would be cheaper for me to do that than if I would have rented it every time I wanted to watch it. We didn't have cable where I lived till I was like 14, 15.
Yeah, that you think about that now, how much money the industry lost when somebody invented the thing so you could record your VHS tapes, and they lost a lot of money, I'm sure,
So,
because everybody I knew recorded stuff.
yes.
So the copyright stuff was like impossible to keep that under wraps back then. But the whole thing when they did the fight, and when they were when they got to see the what was it, Lopan, is that his name,
Yes.
as the elderly little feeble guy.
Little basket in a wheelchair, basket case in a wheelchair.
So it was like everybody was surprised to see that he looked like that. Feeble, how feeble he
Yes.
looked. And then that's when when Wang explains to him that they need her, the green-eyed girl, to break an ancient curse, and that they're going to sacrifice Mao Yin. So, but he still he just wants to get it over with and get his truck back and go home, basically. But he's still willing to do all of it. He's reluctant. So
Yes.
the reluctance is a little bit, when he does his rolls his eyes and does all those different things. You can tell he's slowly, though, getting more and more involved because of his feelings for
Yeah, Yen.
her character, and so he gets more and more sucked into the whole thing.
Well, the exchange that he has with Burton about the differences between men and women, that's probably up until 47. That was kind of how I took life. Some things that you just can't avoid. You love women, but we got to try anyway.
Well, it's just the same for women. I mean, we love men, but we just can't always deal with them. You just have to, I don't know, back up a little bit and then go back in, knowing, well, I'm not going to do it by myself, and I don't want to live life by myself. So we need women and we need guys. That's just the way it is. That's nature.
Mm-hmm. And it's one of those. Oh, I forgot to mention that early part when they're at the dock. Wang loses $1,048 to Jack in a gambling bet, and Jack cleans up the table. All of Wang's friends are upset. They leave, and Wang goes for a double or nothing shot to get his money back, to get Mao Yin, settled here.
Mm-hmm.
And he does that. I'm going to cut this bottle, and he tries to cut the bottle, ends up sending the bottle damn near Burton's head, and he catches it. It's all right, Wang. It's all in the reflexes. Now you owe me $2,084. And that all in the reflexes thing comes back later on, because it's just it's necessary for the end of the film. But
yeah,
you have these two guys that have known each other as a provider and a receiver for years. There's a definite sense of camaraderie between Dennis Dune and Kurt Russell. They've known each other. Their characters have known each other longer than what those two men have known each other in real life. So when they're going through their endeavors, and after the White Tiger incident where Lopan's men kidnapped Miao Yin,
mm-hmm.
there's a good, healthy exchange between the guys. In fact, this movie is kind of a primer on how men should talk to each other. There should be like 30% of it should be shit talking, 30% of it should be, enabling or trying to get you psyched up to go do something right. And then 40% of it should be just like regular complaining and grumbling about things. That's how men should communicate to each other. And I recommend all of you at home put this movie on for your 10-year-old or 12-year-old kid and let them watch it on repeat because they'll learn quite a bit in this movie. They actually will.
Well, I hate to say this, but I don't think a lot of mothers would agree with that part of it because we look at our sons differently than other men or their best friends or whatever look at your son, no matter how old your son is. You know what I mean? Because I can tell you right now, when your mom looks at you as a man, even though you're grown, she still sees the little Bruce in there.
True.
Because you can't help that. I mean, you give birth to a child and you change its diapers and you feed it and you take care of it when it's got a fever or whatever. It you see it grow up. You're proud of their accomplishments, but you still can't help but not want to mother your child. So that's why a lot of men say, oh, I'm taking the boy out and make a man out of him, whatever, whatever that type of stuff. But the women, you can't get mad at the woman because a woman wants to, keep her baby to a degree. So I understand that aspect of it too. But you're right. I mean, I think a lot of the problem is that we have, in today's society, we have coddled men and women to where it's like society doesn't want anyone to do anything by themselves.
No.
No.
So
a good movie like this one. Yeah, this movie is a good movie when it comes to that. To prove that you can be a badass man and still have someone by your side helping you be badass. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So
I don't recommend you going into Chinatown to rescue your fiance, but if you must fight a 10-foot tall maniac, take a small Chinese magician and a good martial artist guy with you, and you should be right. Okay.
Not everybody can find them in their neighborhood or in their repertoire of friends.
I know, right? It's so hard to find.
That's what made the movie so good. It was the whole aspect of the God, I don't know what the word is. Like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, all that. They had the over the top.
It's called Wuxia.
Yeah, but it's over the top, glaring in your face. Oh God, I went blank. I can't remember what exactly I was going to say. But
over the top martial arts and mysticism. That's all.
Yeah, mysticism. There you go. That is what. One of the things to me that drew me in big time, even more than just the martial arts, was the fact that it adds all the mysticism in the background and a little bit of romance like popped in there. And then the best friends, doing high fives and, whatever, backing each other for a goal. And even though he was kind of forced into it, Jack ends up doing it for the right reason in the end anyways. And it shows that like his character coming full circle basically in his character arc, which I really liked about it. But it was the journey of it is what makes it so empowering. Okay, for when you leave, that you're like, yeah, we came, we saw, we kicked some ass. You know what I mean? you get that excitement while you're watching it because you're rooting for them the whole time, and every single time they get into one of these confrontations, you can't help but be you're almost, you can feel the excitement around you. With your other people that are sitting with you watching this movie, because you're all feeling the exact same thing. You just want to see him kick some butt and take names or whatever, however you want to put that, even though I don't know. And it was really fun the way that they went about doing it and entertaining. So
Well,
I
I'll
don't think
say
anybody could watch this and be bored at all.
there's a martial artist that they did the choreography, and I want to say his name is David Wynn or David Yen, something like that. And he went and scripted and storyboarded all the fight scenes before anybody started stretching and getting ready and loosened up. He spent weeks doing all the storyboards and making sure everybody was ready to go for that. And he got the best people he could around him to do these martial arts scenes. And if you go through a lot of these guys that are on IMDb, if you go through their movie resumes, a lot of it is Asian cinema, a lot of it is very physical, a lot of it is a lot of enjoyable stuff to watch because these guys are professionals. Just going on Yong, who is one of the best, if not the best, Hollywood stuntman of all time. He has done this movie. He did Lethal Weapon. He was involved with Tango and Cash. He did. I mean, I'm just calling off of some movies here, and then he did the Brandon Lee film, Showdown. No, not Showdown. Little Tokyo. There was another one, but he did the movie right before The Crow with Brandon Lee. Then he did The Crow with Brandon Lee again. And he was just popping around all these action films until the late 90s. And then he started having health problems around 98, 99. And that's why you don't see him so much. But this movie has some of the best fights that are choreographed that are enjoyable to watch still to this day. And they're not the same caliber of fights that the movie The Raid has, but they are this is aimed at like a PG-13 audience, not a rated R. You're not going to see bone exposed in fights.
Yeah.
Movie, but you can watch the kineticism and really appreciate the choreography because it's very well done. And all these guys, some of them might be on harnesses or wires, but they are true martial artists. They are all of them are brown belt or above, and they're good stuntmen. They're great stuntmen. Hey JD,
Yeah, you can definitely tell. Even when some of the comedic type stuff during the fight, you could tell everybody that was in the fights. It was definitely top notch in the fighting scenes. At least I could. It just seemed to me that there wasn't anybody that didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you because there's not a part where there's a fight scene and I think somebody's phoning it in. There's not a part of that where I thought that one bit. Maybe the worst part about this movie is the little special effect for the Watcher that they use this little creature. And whenever like this is on screen, you can tell there's a screen behind it. They're doing a matte shot. And that's like the only bad thing about this movie, in my opinion. Even the cheesy two Chinese warriors fighting each other when David Lopan and Egg Shen are lacing their fingers together trying to have a battle of wills. Even that's pretty damn cool.
Yeah, definitely. That's why I'm saying whenever you can get a movie that has the cheesy fight, whether it's fist fighting or sword fighting or any of that, or kung fu or any of that stuff in it, when you make it cheesy and it doesn't have to be exact, when you have a fighter that's over the top good, it makes you not notice the other imperfections because you're so involved in watching the perfect timing of the fighters fighting that any other little detail here and there around them, you're taken away from that because you're just into the action part of it. Even as a girl, I mean, I just love that kind of stuff. I absolutely love kung fu. I don't know all the terminologies for it, but ever since I was young, I've always wished that I could be a professional fighter when it came to that stuff. And I mean, boxing was always good, but when it came to the martial arts, the kicking and the jumping and the sword fights and the nunchucks, all the different aspects in that, to me, it was just phenomenal. I don't know how to me, it draws me in, and you don't really notice anything else around it. when just like what was that movie with Uma Thurman? What was the name of that movie? Kill Bill. Phenomenal. I mean, I'm sure if I went back and watched Kill Bill a few times, I could see a lot of mistakes here and there. But when you're watching the fighting and you're actually paying attention to the fight, you're not really noticing anything else outside the fight. So the good fighting definitely will save a movie for any of the other little defects that you might see here and there in the background, or in the outer scenes, outer edges of a scene. So that definitely brought this movie up to a 10 when it came to the fights, for sure, to me.
Well, I as much as I love the fighting in this movie, there's actually the conversations that happen in it that I think probably it's not just the quippy remarks from Jack Burton. It's just how everybody else interacts with each other on this movie. Where you have the exchange between him after they get beat up by Thunder. They're tied up, and Lopan's explaining his dream girl. And when I find her, I will marry her. And when she's like, never. Shanghai will be appeased. My curse will be lifted. Jack Burton, and you can go on and rule the universe from beyond the grave. Indeed.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Those little interactions between the characters using their not just their accents, but their personality for their characters. The interaction was entertaining, but also comical, and they played really well off each other to draw out the better qualities of it, the quirkiness of it, made it more. God, I don't know what that word is. I keep having a hard time getting that one part of it out, but
of it, or
it was very, very hard to look past their character without feeling like they were drawing you into where they were in their life at that moment, like how desperate the sorcerer was because he knew he had to get this woman and perform this ritual as she was his wife. Once he was married, then he had to sacrifice her and try to get the steps had to be done, and he was adamant that he's got to have this one girl because of her green eyes, and that would be the only way to break this curse on him. And then he had his people trying to help him because they wanted him to be able to fulfill his destiny or whatever for what he needed. But the people that loved her and wanted her back weren't about to let that happen. So you had both sides trying to show you the reason behind why they needed her. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So the desperation on both sides, basically, the little cracks in their in the armor of
Lopan and
of not knowing how desperate they were desperate, but they didn't want each side to know how desperate they were about wanting to finish and get their part of it and win.
Yes.
So trying to portray the men are always trying to portray how they're not vulnerable, that we're, no matter what happens, I'm gonna win. I'm not going down without a fight, that attitude. And they all did that very well, I thought, except that Lopan had the magic behind him, and they didn't. All they had was their street smarts and their brawn, basically. So in a way, that's what made it comical to me even more, was the one-liners and the way that the two best friends interacted with each other while they were trying to perform a miracle, basically, to outsmart, Lopan and his gang.
Yeah.
To stop him from being able to perform the ritual. So I thought that was really good, that part of it, besides the fighting.
Mm-hmm. I can agree with that. I can happily agree with that. Um, there.
What I thought the fighting with the magic and stuff, the lightning and all the different other special effects, I thought were really good too. Even though it was quirky, but I think that was intended, and that's what I liked about it, the quirky aspects of it. So, but not a lot of people like the cheesy part like that. I did, but I think a lot of people did, and that's why it became a cult classic. Was because once someone was able to sit and watch it, even though it wasn't at the movie theater, they were like, "Damn, this was a good movie." It was very entertaining, and it had all different aspects of what you look for an escapism. Romance, brute force, comedy, magic, the martial arts. It just had a sampling of everything all rolled into a really good present, because you didn't realize what you were getting until you opened it up and put it in front of you and started watching it. And you were like, darn, this is way better than I expected it was going to be. And I think that a lot of people weren't expecting it to be as good as it was when they finally got to sit down and watch it. I think it's surprised a lot of people. Sorry. I like to talk.
It was in the theaters here. That's fine. It was in theaters here for about a month, or not here, but in Illinois where I grew up for about a month. And then after that, it went away. And then out maybe December was when they had the summer movies hit the rental market. And so we started seeing it all over the place. A friend of mine rented it out. And then I had my father get another VCR and we copied it. And I mean, that's what you did back in the day. So we watched that movie over and over and over again. And I've probably seen it, like I said, about 50 times, maybe 60. And it's just one of those really good movies that you can sit down on a rainy day. And this is like almost like this and Die Hard are in that same genre of classic film where you can watch both of them from the start or from any point really, and you kind of find yourself getting rooted in place where you're just watching these movies and you're just happy there. It brings back a better feeling than whatever's going on around you, because it does have good production values. It has really good characters. It has characters that you cared about whenever you first saw the film. You're like, oh man, I hope Jack Burton gets Gracie Law, and it's just classic. And then they have that final showdown, and they hike through the city sewers, and they go into the world of basically Little China, but mystical. And
the mystical arts.
And they're kind of going around for a little bit, and like, it can't be this easy. It can't be this easy. And Lo Pan or Egg Shin tells Jack, Lo Pan is getting ready to be married. He doesn't give a shit about anything else right now. He's going to become flesh, And so they decide, okay, well, let's do our final prep and go engage him before that happens. And that's when you find out what's in the six demon bag, which really we don't find out what's in the six demon bag, but it's a nice little concoction that kind of gives everybody a little bit more clarity. And then as they find young Gracie Law, Gracie's like, Jack, do you have a gun? He's like, I got a knife. And she's like, a knife? And he's 12 foot tall. No, really, he's only 7 foot tall. I'm on something. Don't worry. I know what's going on. And she's just kind of flummoxed or bamboozled. She doesn't know what's going on. She's in this fancy ceremonial dress. And then after that scene, he's got her lipstick on his face, which is probably one of the coolest kiss scenes ever.
Yeah, I thought that's the kind of things that his facial expressions with the lipstick smeared on him, I just think was just phenomenal.
Yeah, and
scene.
It's so cool to watch that part, because then they get into their stance where, okay, we line up all the good guys over here and all the bad guys are coming down the escalator over here, and fucking Burton puts his machine pistol up in the air and he screams at everybody else and knocks out half the ceiling and collapses it on his head. knocks himself out for a couple minutes, so everybody else gets into a fight.
Yeah.
I'd never seen anything like that. When I'm like 12, I'm like, I can't believe he did that. And then my friend Eric was like, do you understand he's not the main character? I'm like, no, I don't. I don't understand that. And it was just a funny exchange that they have, because Dennis Dune's over there fighting for his life, sailing through the air against wind,
Uh-huh.
and he manages to impale him with a sword, and then lightning manages to catch some rocks in the face like Jack did, but this is time it's personal, and he's out for the count. And then they meet up with Thunder, who is got Miao Yin, and Thunder starts after Jack Burton does his "it's all in the reflexes" bit the second time. That was a cool scene. All those statues came down at once. That's still in one of my like top 5 bad guys demise scenes. Um,
Yeah,
Thunder,
it's flattened.
yeah, Thunder starts getting upset and he starts expanding, and he doesn't really stop. And then everybody runs, and when the camera pans back to the hallway where he was at, you see this big explosion of cabbage come from where he was at.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. It was just a lot of scenes were totally unexpected, and that's the one thing I like about a good movie is that I don't know what's going to happen before it happens. You know what
Mhm.
I mean?
Yes.
That's one thing to me that really knocks a movie down is you're thinking 10 minutes ahead of time, oh, it's going to do this at that in just a minute this is going to happen, and then when it does you go, I know, what I mean. But
Hmm.
this movie wasn't like that. There was so many scenes where you were thinking this was going to happen and it ended up being not that. It was something different. So they kept you off guard, basically kept you on your toes.
Yes.
So that was another part of it, the aspect of it with all it had so many, it had so much stuff going on all the time between so many different characters that you couldn't just sit and kind of like, rest in between scenes. You know what I mean? It was
Mm.
like a constant flow of action, comedy, drama. And from every angle and from every avenue, there was something happening. So that's what made it even more exciting, is because you'd never got a chance to, like, you're holding your breath for this one part, and then you gasp for air, and then you hold your breath again, back and forth, back and forth. To me, it was just the excitement level never lowers.
No.
And even at the very end, when you see this certain person somewhere they're not supposed to be
Hmm.
in the truck.
You're talking,
So
you're talking about the sewer monster played by David Noble,
yeah,
or yeah, Noble Craig. Excuse me. That was that guy's name. And
yeah.
I
But
want to read his. I got to read his IMDb off just for a
well,
second.
while you're looking for that, I was going to read this part about it. Said that I was reading. It said that John Carpenter and Kurt Russell explain on the a
The commentary.
commentary. Yeah, the test screening that was so overwhelmingly positive that both of them expected it to be a big hit. And after that, they realized that 20th Century Fox didn't even really put any effort into promoting the movie, and it ended up being a box office bomb.
Yep.
So the film was released in the hype for Aliens, because Aliens was coming out in 1986. So, however, it went on to be a huge cult hit through home video. So, like people renting, like you said, from Blockbusters and all the different places, that's when it really started to pick up and really break in the money. And because people were renting it not just once or twice, like 4 or 5 times. So that's when they realized they had a hit. But this movie could have kicked butt if 20th Century Fox had held up their end of the bargain to make sure that people got to see it, because you do make a lot of money from a movie when you have repeat ticket sales. And what theater wouldn't want to have a movie where people come back to see it 3 or 4 times?
Yeah, this movie could have been the pre-Titanic.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? It probably could have put Aliens, even with Aliens, if they had promoted it properly.
And that would
Because
be weird.
not everybody wants to see an alien coming out of someone's chest, you know what I mean? Or see
Sure.
that type of movie. I think more people, like my mom, she didn't like movies that had blood and gore and whatever else in it. She loved this type of movie, funny, action, romance. This is right up my mom's alley. So you would have plenty of other people wanting to see this movie compared to going to see Aliens, and then you would have people that like both movies that would have went and saw both. I think both of these movies could have been big hits if, this movie compared to Aliens, if it had been promoted better.
Yeah, and this was completely like bungled from the word go, because when Universal read the script and the first time they saw it, it was supposed to be a Western. And I mean, to the point where Kurt Russell's horse gets stolen. It's supposed to be a Western.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And they're like, oh, well, this is a modern day film now. Oh, great. And they're kind of not impressed. And John Carpenter's just delivered us another bomb of a movie. They're impressed by the test screenings. Of, well, maybe it'll surprise us, and then they give no money to it. They said they put $3 million into advertising for this film. I don't remember a single advertisement for this movie coming out in 1986. Not until the rental market got a hold of it, and everybody starts renting it out left and right. HBO got a hold of it, and everybody that I know that had HBO was like, "Oh, I don't have to have two VCRs. Awesome! I don't have to rent out a VCR to copy it. I can just burn it off of that." So they did that, or but nobody in my town had this. Had cable until 1989, which kind of sucked. So
well,
it was.
Where I was at, they didn't have a movie theater close. There was a drive-in, but it was like, about 40 something miles away.
Yep.
So I didn't get to see this movie until it came out on VHS anyways. But now I did get to see Alien in a theater in Dallas when I went to visit my aunt and uncle and my cousins and stuff in Texas. So, sometimes circumstances can make a difference too. But you're right. I don't remember seeing very much of anything. And the only reason I even saw the trailer for this show was because at the place where you rent the videotapes, they had the little monitors, with different trailers going.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the only reason I even saw it and thought, oh, that looks like it'd be good. And the only reason I even looked at the trailer was because it had Kurt Russell in it. Because I didn't really know that much about the other characters. And then I saw that it was Kim Cattrall was in it, but and she had gotten to be really popular because of the that other movie I was talking about earlier, Porky's Backyard or whatever it was called.
I think this is right around the Porky's. And then there's another movie that she was in the late 80s that everybody went to go see. I can't imagine why, but the local theaters in Decatur had Mannequin 2.
I thought Mannequin sucked. I didn't like it.
Yeah, that's really not a good movie in the least bit. And Mannequin, I think there was a second Mannequin movie. I could have sworn it was. Okay, Mannequin was in theaters for like 2 or 3 months. And I'm thinking, why is this movie a thing? Why is this not like a bad late night movie for women, for lonely ladies? Because I don't know anybody that would go see it. And I hate to say that. I hate to be such a dick, but like that was my biggest problem with that. We didn't get to see Big Trouble in Little China on the theaters, but they got Mannequin for 2 months. GTFO, And I'm not trying to be salty. I'm sorry, kids, but I got a chance to see this film so many times as a kid growing up because I did have that copy. And then whenever I started doing research on it, like 5 years ago, because I listened to the commentary track the first time back in 2009, and I probably listened to that track probably once a year between Kurt Russell and John Carpenter. And Kurt Russell, he before he does the commentary track, he talks. He went through and he studied everybody that was in this movie. He went and looked at their IMDb or whatever, and throughout the entire time, he's discussing various scenes or what's going on and what this person's doing now. And Victor Wong is like the one person he's not really doesn't really talk much about Vic, because Vic was really well known as a Hollywood actor. And the guy that plays David Lopan, I forget what his name is, but Hong, I think was his name, James Hong. He's in the movie Blade Runner. He's the one where Roy Batty and I can't think of the other guy's name. The big bruiser of the replicants. They go into Chinatown, and this guy's got the eyes in nitrous. And at the end of that scene, Roy Batty rips that guy's warmth jacket apart, and it's kind of sad. It's like, that guy's going to freeze to death now, and that's probably one of the few times you see this guy, see him as an actor. If you don't watch a lot of Asian cinema, you'll see him in various small parts. That's his second most famous role he's ever done, is that scene. He's still alive, by the way. Hong is. He was in a video in 2013 called David Lopan Style, a parody of Gundam Style, I guess. And John Carpenter went so far as saying that's about as close to a sequel as I'll ever see for Big Trouble in Little China, because that video is that enjoyable. We'll show that after. Well, we'll show that to each other after the curtains close. Yeah, okay. Man, nothing's going to stop us on rotation on MTV. Yes, I remember that. But this, the very end, you have everything goes on, and the three storms are broken up, and then after, I don't know why, but Jack Burton decides to be an asshole first, and he decides to not kiss Gracie Law, and everybody that's there says, "Aren't you going to kiss her?" Like, nah.
I wonder why. I wonder what his reason was behind that.
I think it was just because the movie wanted to. He was the first edgy character I can remember in popular media. He was trying to be the John Wayne the whole time, but when he's given a chance to kiss the girl in public in front of all of his friends, he's like, no. And he lets her go. And then he's driving down the road later that night, and we find out that the sewer monster is hitching a ride on the back of his bobtail. And that's where the movie ends, and it kind of leaves you hanging there. You probably think, well, if those two got into a fight, Burton probably died.
Yeah.
Sorry, Burton, you didn't have your friend Wang Chi to help you out there. And the guy that played, I want to talk about this character real quick. There's this guy that played a stuntman and a bunch of other things in Hollywood for a little bit by the name of Noble Craig. Mm-hmm. And just going to read a mini bio off of IMDb real quick, because this is kind of sad. He was born in 1948 in LA, California. He died in 2018, April 26th. He was a Vietnam War vet and creature performer in a handful of horror and fantasy films. He's shipped off to Vietnam in 1969. On his 12th day of duty in Vietnam, Craig steps on a buried artillery shell, and both of his legs go away. One of his arms is gone. Most of the sight in his right eye is out too. Well, he comes back to the States, heals up, and he's got a mission that he wants to still live his life on his terms. So he made it into Hollywood, got a SAG card, and he starred in the B movie The Snake Man in 1973. And then he played the character, the vomit creature in Poltergeist 2, The Other Side, and the sewer monster in Big Trouble in Little China. And he lives his life to the fullest. Not only did he engage in activities like scuba diving, water skiing, jumping from planes, and swimming in the ocean, both Hawaii and Costa Rica, but he was also a hunter and a dancer. In addition, Craig raised 5 children and worked as a car, boat, and motorcycle mechanic. So he's probably like that guy in the movie The Road Warrior that has the rigging. He can, as long as you've got a cherry picker to have him hang out in, he can get under the hood of something.
Yeah, he sounds like a very well-rounded man. I mean, he was involved in a lot of things. He could do a lot of things that he could pretty much do whatever anybody put in front of him.
Yeah, and that's the just the level of male testosterone this movie had on the back end. This guy didn't let a bomb stop him. He continued working. 3 of his 4 limbs are gone or disfigured, and the guy still managed to become a star in Hollywood. And he was well regarded, and he died, as a 70-year-old man, or close to 70, and it was just, crazy. But John Carpenter loved his performance in this movie.
Yeah, he loved life. It sounds like he wanted to live. Whatever degree he could get out of it, he was going to put every single thing he had into living, and take what he could out of it. Very inspirational.
When Carpenter first read the script, he's thinking, this sounds really interesting. I think it could have legs. I think it could be good. But he turns it back in mid-'80s, and whenever they give it back to him again, there's another movie getting ready to come out called The Golden Child.
Mm-hmm.
So Carpenter steps up production on this movie to push this out ahead of The Golden Child, because Golden Child comes out in December, and this is coming out. This is coming out in summer. We've got to have it in summer. So,
well, because they both had the same mystical kung fu type stuff in it.
A lot of the same actors went and starred in The Golden Child. I want to say that the Mater D was in that as well, the Eddie. So, and grumpy old Ninja Kintaro says, if I remember correctly, Mortal Kombat was heavily inspired by Big Trouble in Little China. Yes, the character Raiden is a direct inspiration from this movie.
Mm-hmm. I can believe that.
Yeah. Hey,
I loved that movie too, though. I loved Mortal Kombat. I even bought the soundtrack or whatever.
I love that soundtrack.
I love the soundtrack from that movie. It was really, really good.
Go to the gym on that and listen to that for days and be hyped. So,
but I was reading this thing on IMDb. It says this was the last studio film that John Carpenter worked on at the end of the 1980s. And due to various problems he experienced during the production of the film, as when studio head Lawrence Gordon, who constantly interfered with the film up until its release date. Carpenter's 2 follow-ups were Prince of Darkness in 1987 and They Live in 1988. And were made independently via Alive Films without any studio interference and distributed by Universal Pictures. So he definitely, after he made this movie, he made sure that he did them independent after that, because it was too much of a hassle to try to get what he wanted done using a big studio.
Carpenter's a hard man to work with either. He seems like he's fairly in control. He knows what he wants to do. Can't have some bean counter hovering around the set trying to tell him how to run the movie.
Yeah, you could tell that he wasn't happy with the interference that he kept getting, and also I'm sure the fact that they were shitty at promoting it when he knew it was going to be could have been really, really good, he got screwed over by it. I could see why he decided, heck, next time we'll just do it ourselves, and I bet he was a lot happier.
I've got to say that as a fan of the movie They Live, that explains so much. And They Live is, we'll discuss that movie at a later point, but They Live is a lot of conspiracy heads think that movie is like the movie that turned David Icke onto like all the problems in the world today. And really, John Carpenter was just trying to make a stab at like a political statement. He did not like the 80s at all.
Mm-hmm.
He was not a fan of the capitalism and the greed and the mindset it was pushing on into popular parlance. He hated it. But that's for another day. I got to say that this movie also, you have Dennis Dune. If you like Dennis Dune, he was in the movie the year before this called Year of the Dragon, and he was drawn to this film because like there's not a lot of movies before this where Asian characters are given really like the top billing, and he wasn't top billing, but he's the main character in this movie.
Uh-huh.
I mean, he's getting to do this next to Kurt Russell. Sure, sign me up. I'm gonna be bigger than McCready from The Thing. Oh hell yeah. Put me in this movie.
Yeah, who wouldn't want to say that?
So,
and here's an interesting tidbit that I didn't know. I'm glad you told me to look at this IMDb thing. It says the vehicle that Egg Sheen drove in the movie was a 1936 white touring car. That car is now in Yellowstone National Park, the location for which it was originally built, named Hollywood, and gives tours out of Old Faithful. That is interesting. If I ever get to go back, I'm gonna see if I'm gonna get my picture taken with this vehicle.
There's a translation about what's on there in the. Let me scroll back here just a second. The Egg Shin touring car.
Mm-hmm. I just think that's amazing. Very interesting.
Let's see. And Dennis Dune was not really a martial artist. He was more of a dancer, but he did some training before the movie. Kurt Russell worked out for two full months. On Egg Shin's bus. In Chinese, it says, Uncle Egg's tours guarantee a good time.
Yeah, wouldn't that be cool to have your picture taken while you're sitting in it?
I would love that.
Me too. I'm definitely going to think about that because it's been a long time since I've been to Yellowstone.
The other part about this movie that a lot of people groan about is the Coupe de Villes that sing the ending credit song.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what John Carpenter is doing nowadays. He's involved with a music act called the Coupe de Villes, and one of his set designers is the second unit director, Tommy Lee Wallace, Nick Castle, and him. They did that, and now John Carpenter kind of does this musician thing as a full-time gig. He's not really directing movies right now. He's enjoying the old man dancing at the keyboard, and he's just kind of bopping, doing the bop thing.
Uh-huh.
And he's just having a fun time. I found that out because it was on Red Letter Media when they rated the top 30 or all of the John Carpenter films of all time, and they have a 3-part series. It takes about an hour and a half to get through it. And Jay Bauman says that his favorite's The Thing, but Rich Evans' favorite movie from John Carpenter is Big Trouble in Little China, because not only does it have the right action, which all the other Carpenter films kind of lack on. This is probably the only John Carpenter film that has great choreography, because they spend a lot of time doing the scripting and the storyboarding and getting everybody ready. You're gonna be in harnesses. We're gonna do all the old timey special effects. So you're gonna have trampolines. You're gonna be on wires. You're gonna be doing everything you can to fly across screen. Be ready, make sure you're loosened up. And I didn't read of any fatalities or any injuries on set. That was one of the weird things. The part that they had the most trouble with was that stupid little spy, that watcher that I had the figure on. It's powered by several puppeteers and dozens of cables to control the facial expressions and to get the tongue to roll out with the eyeball. They had to shoot that with a matting system specifically designed for it. They couldn't do that any other way. And that would be frustrating because that's like the only part of the special effects where nobody knew what was going on. And this is one of those films before CGI. Well, let's talk about that real quick. Before CGI, we have movies that they not only have the movie release, but they do have the making of come out. So all of us Gen Xers and Gen Y and baby boomers, we all understand how they used a blue screen to make the special effects for Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Saw that. That was something that, like, oh my God, they're going to be showing this on PBS. We're going to watch it. And so you get the chance to see how your favorite movie's made. And back before CGI was a fucking crutch that everybody used, this was like the anticipated part of the movie. So I'm going to be looking for the Big Trouble in Little China making of tape. And this is, just something that you get into because these are fun things to hear. You hear the director groaning when the special effects don't work right. You hear the people talking as they're in makeup. You get to actually see beyond or behind the curtain a bit. What's the wizard doing, with Oz there? And you get a chance to peek in that wider world. I've never seen it. You've worked in it. I love that sort of shit. That Blade Runner is the entire reason why I have this stack of miniatures, because I love working with miniatures. I don't make movies. I make stupid D&D games for my friends, which everybody enjoys our adventures together that is involved with it. Well, most of us, I should say. The returning people, the ones that are important. You never worry about the ones complaining. You just take their notes. Okay, whatever, thanks. Goodbye. But I love working with people because they make you feel whenever you're involved with these during an 8-hour or 10-hour session that there is some weight to these stupid little figurines. There's something important about these, and they give you, it's a physical piece of something that's shared in your imagination.
Yeah, they immerse you. They help you immerse into another world, another dimension. It helps you visualize where you're going and where you're going to end up with the other characters, the interaction between them.
So I've just
it's not that much different than actually reading a book.
No.
Because as you're holding the book in your hand and you're reading the words, your mind is putting together what the character looks like. You're assembling it in your brain. So the difference between what you're holding in your hand right now is you're assembling it by adding color to the dimensions to make it more lifelike in your mind when you're using it. So it's, and it's a form of art, but it's also a form of entertainment.
Appreciate that.
You're welcome. But that's what it is. I mean, it helps someone visualize something. I mean, how much money do you think that is spent worldwide on people buying collectibles? Like the Deadpools and the Voltrons and the Iron Man and all these different characters, and that's just a few of them. I mean, there's so many. There's anime. There's tons of them, and people are buying them. And I can tell you right now, it's not, I'd say half of it are kids and the other half are grown-ups.
I think you're overestimating how many kids buy it. I think it's probably closer to 1 in 5 as kids and the other 4 out of 5 as adults, ages 25 and up.
You're probably right. But I just remember begging for crap whenever, and my poor mother had 5 kids, all begging for, like little beggars hanging on her leg. Please, please, please buy me this. So, that's a lot of money that you're spending on whatever it is that these kids want. Paw Patrol. I mean, there's just buku dollars in this stuff. And we don't have it now as much as we did when we were young, where the lunchbox was very important. What lunchbox you got to take to school. It was like a sign of
who were the cool kids?
Yeah, who you were by what lunchbox you carried, and if you had more than one cool one, then you were really in.
I
So
had a He-Man lunchbox that was plastic, but I had the metal Dukes of Hazzard.
I was trying to remember which ones I had. I had a Wonder Woman one, and trying to remember what the other one was. I can tell you one thing I really wanted as an adult. I wanted this. I loved bowling because my mother was a huge bowler, and there was a TV series that was on. It was called Night Court. Did you ever watch that?
Probably the show that I watched all 7 seasons or 8 seasons of it. More of it in syndication, but now that the internet is, I've started learning how to navigate the high seas, so I can find places to find streams for Night Court, and I'm pretty happy about that.
But the bowling ball that he used when he bowled, that looked like a big eyeball.
Yes.
I wanted one so bad, and it was so expensive to get one made like that. So I never did get it. But if I could have had that, I would have loved it. I would have used it all the time. Just, I'm weird like that. I see something and I'm like, I really, really want something, but it's always something very bizarre, and that it's not something you can normally just go buy. So that was one of my downfalls, is that I always wanted the one thing I really couldn't get. But oh well, that's the way it is. But yeah, this movie, I just can't. I can't even. I just never could understand why this movie didn't make wasn't a blockbuster. That was the thing, because it has everything in it to be one.
Mm-hmm.
So
Now
that
that you,
definitely, it was the fault of the production company not working well with whoever they had to distribute the movie. For even though they said they spent this much money on it, there's no way somebody pocketed that money, because they didn't spend it on advertising.
I didn't see that money in any advertising. I remember Aliens. Aliens came out, and in June we started seeing it everywhere. We started seeing the advertised trailers for it, and my mom, who was excessively worried about my dropping grades in school, no surprise. And when you have crappy teachers that just create bad product,
Yes.
public school education, guys. I'm sorry. So I skated out of high school with a D, but in '86 I was starting to dip into a C average from my usual B's and A's, and I was realizing that my mentality wasn't the same as what they wanted to foster. And I wasn't trying to be an edgy little bastard. I was just trying to. I wanted to be a good kid, but I also realized if you cussed a lot, you got more attention. So there was a lot of parent teacher conferences because of my sailor mouth. And when I went to the Navy, not a single person was surprised. Not a soul. Like he's gonna be just at home over there. Um, I just this movie is frustrating on that aspect, but thank God we got it made. Thank God they gave it to us, and we've got it on multiple formats. For a while there in the mid 2010s, The Rock was supposed to be doing a remake of it, and that kind of skidded to a halt because a lot of people in the industry, maybe people like yourself, got vocal, and instead of them giving us a crappy sequel where The Rock plays another character as The Rock, I
Yeah.
don't hate Dwayne Johnson, but I hate the fact they call him an actor. That makes me an author. I wrote a book. That doesn't make me an author. My book was shit. It didn't have good grammar. My editing skills were poor. It's just it. My friends that read it said for being a story, it's a fun story, but
Mhm.
it's a terrible book.
Yeah,
Uh,
but if you could have hired somebody to fix it, to write it more appealing, but it'd still be your story. You just have a ghostwriter to improve it.
yeah,
Who knows what could have happened? You can
yeah,
still do that.
and the fact that we've got now, there's some Funko has got a bunch of crappy gay Funko Pop figures, which I don't encourage anybody to buy, because if you buy Funko Pop things, I just have no respect for you as a human being. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's
I'm
heartbreaking.
I
I
don't
have
like
some.
Funko. I know you have a ton of them, probably.
Well, no, I only have a few, but the ones that I bought were the only ones I've ever seen. The whole set was for Rocky Horror Picture Show, because
Okay.
I've never seen the characters in any other realm that way. And I bought the complete, the whole set. I mean, that's the only reason I purchased it. I wouldn't have just bought like, Frankenfurter or whatever, but I could get all the characters, and I bought all of them at the exact same time, and they're Funko, but I have them with my original movie poster. And then I have a hat that looks like Columbia's hat, and I keep them all together. It's like a set.
Okay.
But and then I have the 2 or 3 different DVDs of it, because I never could find a VHS tape of it. I would love to have, but I do have the record of the album in the
Okay.
original case, and everything. So it's like a whole set, and I do that a lot with a lot of the things that I collect. I try to buy. I don't just buy like all my Dexter stuff. I have a whole bunch of different things that are all Dexter for the TV show, or The Walking Dead. I have a whole collection of things that go together, and I keep them that way, like a little set. And that's the reason why I bought the Funko Pops. But I've had people give them to me, different ones, but really those are the only ones I've ever purchased for myself, and that was only because I could get the whole set. And I just love that movie. I remember going to see it and looking around and seeing people. It was at a midnight showing or whatever. It was it'd been out for I don't know how long, but when someone said they wanted to take me to see it, I was like, okay, whatever. It sounds stupid or whatever. But when I walked up and I saw people standing in line to go in, and they're wearing fishnet stockings, and they're all dressed all weird. It's guys and gals, and I was like, what are we going? What are you taking me to? I didn't know what was going to happen, but and I loved it. I mean, I absolutely loved it. I was so entertained. And then when I went in and they handed me this big paper sack, and I looked in, and there's like hot dogs and playing cards and rubber gloves and a squirt gun and just tons of stuff in this bag to use during the movie. And I'd never had anything. I never did anything like that in my whole life, and I just thought it was the super coolest thing ever. So that's why I like the movie so much. And plus my name's Janet, so I fit right. But yeah, this movie was really good. But one thing I had read, I was going to read it to you, was it says for the film's many fight scenes, John Carpenter worked with martial arts choreographer James Liu.
Yes.
Who planned every scene in detail. And it said, Carpenter stated, I used every cheap gag, trampolines, wires, reverse movements, upside down sets. It was much like a photographing a dance. Mm-hmm. And that's what he said about it. But you could definitely tell now that I've read it about the wires and the trampolines, because people were able to jump, to super, super high. But to me, I just think that's awesome, because how many directors do we have today that would do any of those things, go through the effort to have wires and trampolines and upside down sets and everything, when they can just use CGI? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just think it makes it more believable when you actually have the actors actually doing something, instead of just standing there looking at a green screen.
The problem that this movie's got on the horizon is that they still have The Rock tied to it. There was an article put in 2015 or 16, and then there was an article put out last year, and both of them headlines are the same. The Rock remake of Big Trouble in Little China is still happening for both of them. And CinemaBlend and MovieWeb.com basically had the same article talking about how the movie's going to be a sequel, but the legacy status of this film has made it really hard to negotiate the legality of getting the lawyers in place to make a sequel properly, which makes me happy, because we don't need a Rock to do a Big Trouble in Little China film. That's not what I want to watch. The more I think about him trying to be like a sideline character, getting his butt kicked, the less I want to see him on screen at all for anything near this property. And I hate to say that. I don't mean to be a damper, but I don't want to see The Rock or anybody butcher the name Big Trouble in Little China. And I know at some point we're going to get it. We're going to get socked with some crappy remake or sequel or some crap that the Jodie Whittaker season of Doctor Who would look like Shakespeare. And you want to see me turn into a fucking profanity laden son of a bitch. Just go ahead and ruin Big Trouble in Little China. Why don't we just get the entire staff from Ghostbusters 2016, the fictional movie that you guys seem to think happened, which it didn't because I didn't sure as hell watch it. And I just go ahead and remake Big Trouble in Little China, but have nothing but like Queen Latifah in it, and because she's the equalizer, she all those running scenes, right? And have her have just make sure you get the fat one from the Ghostbusters movie, because she'd be good for the martial arts scenes. I can't wait to see her reverse punch. And I'm filling with bile and anger right now. I'm sorry. I need to shut the hell up.
Oh, I wanted to bring something else up. It's a little trivia. Did Egg Shin's garage office remind you of anything when you were looking at his office?
I've read this like 4 times and I've passed by it each and every time, but isn't that the same garage as used in the original Ghostbusters?
Yeah, it says that it was Fire Station 23, the same building that was used for the business interior of Ghostbusters. But see, you see stuff like that, and I didn't click it together until I read it. But I did think it was familiar, but I was like, where have I seen this before? But I didn't place it, but now I do, but that's the way it is. But that's interesting. That's a very interesting tidbit. Thank you for telling me about this, to look this up on here, because I never would have done it. That's very interesting.
Every movie we discuss, I have a tab open for IMDb. The one thing I ever wanted to say about Victor Victoria, the very last scene, you have our boy Preston doing his dance, and he's doing his little his senior moment on stage. That was filmed in one take.
He's just amazing. That's all there is to it.
Yeah,
I can believe it because he's just talented. He was so talented.
His health wasn't that good at the time, but he insisted on getting it done and over with, and he did that entire scene in one take. And I think you of all people would appreciate that, because you've watched that movie probably like 6 or 7 times, and you love that.
Way more than that.
More than that.
I just love that movie, and every time I watch it, it makes me think of my mom. But the thing is that the audience in that watching him perform, some of them were beat red in the face, and you could tell that they were laughing their butts off watching him do that. So it was just phenomenal. I mean, getting to see a movie based on Broadway, you know what I mean? It was like Broadway shows, and it was just I just loved it. I just love that movie, and I still love it. I love the music, the singing. I mean, everything about it. They couldn't make it today. It would just not. It just wouldn't be good because it's got too much stuff that they would say is politically incorrect. But I thought it was a phenomenal movie. I still love it. No, but this one is really good too. I mean, this is a very, very good movie. And that's the one thing though, when I was looking into it, I was just so shocked how bad this movie did at the box office, because I really thought it did a lot better because everyone knew it. You know what I mean? I mean, it's been, a long time since it was out, but every person you talk to says, "Oh, I love that movie. Oh, I love that movie." Men, women, young, old. So it's a well-watched movie, and it filled a lot of people with entertainment but it filled them with happiness to get to watch it, because every person I brought it up to saying that we were going to do a review on it, every one of them smiled because they had good memories of watching it. So you don't get that a lot. You know what I mean?
No,
In this
you really
industry,
don't.
you definitely don't get that. Especially for a movie that wasn't a box office smash, like Maverick. The Top Gun Maverick movie is kicking booty, and it deserves to, because it's actually freaking good, and
And
people will go see it over and over again because it's worth every dime. I mean, knowing that you have to work 3 hours overtime to be able to go to the movies again to see it is worth it to people when it's
yeah,
decent entertainment.
and I
Which I'm
haven't seen it in
happy to see
theaters
that we
yet.
have.
I've not seen that movie yet. I'm going to go see it,
Well,
possibly
you
after this
need to go
weekend.
see
I
it.
don't know yet.
You
But
guys will love it. You and your
it,
wife will enjoy it immensely. It's a very, very good movie.
the fact they have a volleyball scene in there and the girls aren't playing skins, that made me a little sad. But I thought, well, it is today's Navy, so it's not the tailhook era Navy, it's today's Navy. I know that's a completely sexist statement, but I have a low bar, people. Come on.
Oh, that's okay. At least you
Um,
have a bar.
yes, I'm kind of curious. What do you want to watch next time we do a movie discussion next week?
I was bouncing around a few different movies, whether I wanted to go to the horror genre yet or go towards another movie that I think that we need to do. It's a Western kind of movie.
Uh-oh. Go
And
ahead.
I would love to watch this movie. I have it, I own it, and I'm going to definitely watch it again. Is The Cowboy Way.
With Kiefer Sutherland and Woody Harrelson.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's been a
And
very
Louis
long time.
Sussman in his greatest milking moment ever.
It's a really, really good movie. I think it's a really good movie, and I hope that everybody gets to watch it, will enjoy it. But I'm excited about getting to watch it and review it. And
I
it's
think
it's going in a different direction than we've done before.
yes.
A little bit.
That movie was released in 93, 94, I want to say. Mm-hmm. And I went and saw that down at the Dollar Cinemas at Corpus Christi, which oddly enough, those have never closed. They're still open.
I got to watch this movie in Florida at a cinema pub.
Oh.
And it was awesome. So I'm going to enjoy it again.
Okay. Is there anything lastly that you want to discuss about this film here before we start wrapping it up and heading towards the balcony?
I think I would be interested, if I could. I'll have to research some more now that I found this page that you sent me to, about the process they went through to find the other characters, the people to portray the different characters in the movie. Because there was only a handful of Caucasian people in this movie.
Yeah, that's about it.
So a lot of people, like when you were saying, when we were first talking about the production part of it, about how they were going to advertise and things like that, the more I think about it, the whole time we've been sitting here, it's just been trying to rack my brain. Why in the heck they didn't push this more? And I'm thinking that the only thing I can think of that makes any logical sense of why they didn't do it as well as they could have is because I think they felt that if they pushed it too much, that it would seem that they were forcing an Asian movie with Asian actors up to the forefront instead of it being a B-rate movie. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because I love the B-rate movies. The spaghetti westerns, the ones that most people would not pay top dollar to go see. Those are the ones I was always wanting to stand in line to go watch, because to me, they were the most entertaining when it came to action and things like that. So that's the only thing you think of. The more I was thinking about it, I was like, there's not very many Caucasian people in this movie. Almost everyone in it is an Asian.
Mm-hmm.
which I don't mind. I mean, to me, it doesn't. I don't care who they are as long as they're good and they're believable as their characters in the realm that you're supposed to be playing. Just like in Mortal Kombat, I thought it was really, really, really good because it was from a totally different dimension. Basically. Uh, and I loved it. But this one's the same thing. It's taking everybody into Chinatown, and the whole movie's basically centered around Chinatown. And all the actors are all fighting using martial arts and magic and things like that, except for a few of the characters. They're using just brute force or whatever that they have to fight along with the other people that are in the movie fighting. But that's the only thing I can think of. Is it just seems like um, I know that you said the Golden Child was coming out later that year, and they were trying to come out before it,
Mm-hmm.
and that might have been one of the reasons why they didn't want to push it too much for the Asian part, because it did have a white lead in the beginning in the
Yes.
front, and that the Golden Child was going to have a black lead. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that makes any sense or not, but thinking, from the behind the scenes part of it, in that aspect of whether they were kind of afraid, like you said, they didn't really know how to push this movie for the advertising. So I think that's what I think too many people were worried at the top of if we push this way, it's going to piss people off. If we push that way, it's going to piss people off. If we push the fact that there's a white lead in this movie over the Asians, and they're going to piss them off. You see what I mean? So I
Yes.
think they just said, well, we'll just kind of like fluff it along, like without pushing too much behind it and see what happens. You know what I mean? I think they copped out when it came to it because they were afraid to ruffle anybody's feathers, so they just didn't ruffle any feathers. That's what the more I think about it, the more I'm thinking that's why they did what they did when they dropped the ball. Because see, they could push the shit out of it because they had a colored person in the other one.
Yep. And for Golden Child, yeah. And you
Yeah,
had, I
so
want to say,
I'm not trying to be racist or anything. I'm just trying to look at it as an aspect of the people in charge and
we're
what
just
they
checking
want
off.
people to think about them. When they
All,
were doing the movie.
all we're doing is just checking off boxes here, making sure this film is going to abide by the ESG and the
Hmm.
MPAA, the awards. They're going to have good awards because we've got a black director and a partially trans script writer, and we have this half ball you know set
It's
director.
sad though because they just came out with some new stuff last year on what has to be in a movie now for it to even be uh,
Considered.
eligible to win an Academy Award.
Yeah.
So you think that changes everything it does, because now it's going to change everything about the way that they produce a movie and how they submit it to the different companies to be distributed, whether, like changing the posters, who's in front and who's in back, depending on where and what country that's going to be in. It's all, to me, it's all bullshit. When you change that just to make a few extra dollars because you don't want to offend the Asians, or you don't want to offend the Germans or whoever, they didn't seem like they cared about anything in TV about offending the Russians or Germans or anything today, or even the people from
Ukraine.
Muslim countries. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, that's
And
a
still
sacred cow. Don't even mess with that.
yeah, see, that's what I'm saying though. It's pathetic to me that you can't just put everybody on the same level playing field and promote the movie for what it is, whatever movie it is. You know what I mean? I'm a
Yeah.
woman, okay? I'm a real woman. I was born a woman. I've been a woman my whole life, and I like being a woman. I don't want to be a guy, and it wouldn't offend me at all because they use women's body parts or whatever it is. If that's what the movie's about or what's involved in the movie, then they should use that to get the movie promoted if they actually want to make their money back and then some. uh, that's what movies are made for. They're a story, that they're just trying to share to get other people to watch and interact with it. So I don't know. I just sometimes it just goes over my head because I'm like, I don't understand why you spend millions of dollars making something, but then you don't want to make any money back. So it makes no common sense whatsoever, and I have a hard time dealing with that part of it.
And Free Speech says we have what they call flashback cinemas around here. They play classic movies. We saw this week's movie on the big screen a few years ago. Cavatinho Calverum Che, hello, sir. Guessing Simalu, never watched Big Trouble in Little China. Yeah, never did. Calvinani says an awesome movie. Nobody should care about the racial mix for the co-leads in Big Trouble in Little China. I agree. And we need to get common sense movie making back on track again. And I think people just need to kind of stand up to the awards people, the council that decides what movie is going to be considered, and just don't go see their movies that they're promoting.
Yeah, that's the only way. That's the only way that Hollywood will ever learn, and it will take a couple years after it happens before we actually get to reap the benefits of it, because it takes years to make a movie, produce a movie, and then get it out where people can see it. So we have to just use our pocketbooks and say, no, I'm not going to spend my dough on your shit just to make you feel good, because I can spend it on this, and sign up for, different streaming services or YouTube channels or whatever, so that you can watch entertainment that actually entertains you. I don't care if it's porn or whatever it is. If you get enjoyment out of it and you're paying for it, you should get what you want. You should get what you pay for.
I'm not gonna kink shame at all here, but the Deadpool movie, or excuse me, the Captain Marvel movie with Kinsey Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
Kinsey Taylor is the mattress actress that Lethal Lightning interviewed about a year and a half ago. That Captain Marvel film is so fucking accurate to the comics. I'm just going to say that MCU dropped a ball, a huge ball, like lots of times. But the scriptwriter for that movie knows comics, and despite it being a mattress actress movie, there's a lot of really good stuff that happens between the credit scenes of that film. It's the only porn I've ever watched from start to finish.
Yeah, I mean, most people don't, because they never finish if they keep watching the movie.
We never find out if that guy got the job. We never understand if he got his thing fixed. It's just, these are unanswered questions, but nobody ever cares. They're like, they had other ideas in mind. So next week, we're going to be doing your movie,
The Cowboy Way.
The Cowboy Way, with Woody Harrelson and Kiefer Sutherland from 1984.
I think it'd be really good.
I can't wait to do that.
How long has it been since you watched a Western?
About 3.5 days.
Oh, really?
Friday night, I watched for a few dollars more.
Oh, okay.
I watch Sergio Leone Dollars trilogy quite a bit, and one of these days I'll throw that up there on the altar for us to evaluate the offering, because I really love those movies. Those are my favorite Westerns of all time. Even though my father would get kind of heartbroken. He's like, "Oh, you don't like Magnificent Seven?" I'm like, it's good. It's a great movie. Which version of it you want to talk about, Dad? The samurai version, the Yul Brynner version, or the Antoine Fuqua version from 2016? And there's a lot of other versions out there too. Which one you want to talk about? And my dad just kind of wanders away. He's like, no. There's only one version, and that's with Yul Brynner. And I'm like, okay. Free Speech Gaming, have a great night, sir. For everybody that stopped by tonight.
Thank you for coming.
Yes.
And enjoying us.
I'm going to leave this stream up, and I hope everybody enjoys it when they get a chance to listen to us talk. I really enjoyed being able to discuss my favorite movie of all time with you tonight, Janet.
Thank you very much for having me. Next
time we do a film, if you want to watch it with me, especially if just ask, and that I almost want to like record the session where we watch the movie together, but we'll have to
That
put
would be
that up.
fun. I mean, this one I have on DVD myself, but I probably would have contacted you sooner, like I normally do on Discord, except the fact that it's getting ready for the fourth and everything, and a bunch of stuff going on.
Yeah,
So it's just cut it close for me this time.
it happens. And that's fine. This is a great movie, and we 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 got through 2 hours and 10 minutes together, and you didn't kill me, which I'm happy about. Uh, I'm
It's a
working on
good movie. I love it. It's a great movie.
yeah, it's one of my favorite films of all time. And me and Kai Marion, we agree quite a bit about a lot of
This
stuff.
one and what Die Hard
Say again.
wasn't this movie and Die Hard are some of your favorite movies?
Die Hard is another film, probably top 10 movie for me. Not quite
Mhm.
as high as Big Trouble in Little China, but I watched Die Hard again just last month, and I noticed this time around that she gets a Rolex watch from her boss and from the slimy sales guy at the
Mhm.
start of the film, and at the end of the movie, they're able to get rid of Hans because she takes her watch off while she's dangling off the side of the window. And I'd never paid attention to that watch scene before.
Mhm.
I'm like, oh my god, that's cool.
That's what I said. That's what's so cool about you watch it at the first time and you're watching, pretty much everything that's going on. But each time you watch it after that, if you delve into it, you get to see little details and things that you never would have noticed before if you hadn't watched it again. That's why it's important to watch it more than once.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I enjoyed myself. It was fun. Thank you very much for letting me hang out with you.
I love having everybody here with us and talking about it. Mar Hockman, Calvinani, Free Speech Gaming, Grumpy Old Ninja Kentaro, Calvary, Cavitano Che, and everybody else, Lasso of Truth, George Lucas, uh, Chimerian, you guys, everybody would be nothing if we didn't have viewers. And I hope that for the time you spent with us, you had a smile on your face. And we will be back here next week to talk about Janet's pick, The Cowboy Way, with Woody Harrelson and Kiefer Sutherland, 1994. Go ahead, Janet.
Um, thank you for having me, and I enjoyed reviewing this movie with you, Bruce. And I hope that everybody will come to my channel and check me out, or check out my shorts, uh, and uh, and make sure you come back next week and watch us again. And on Tuesday night, I'm on the United Resistance on Supreme Heretics channel on YouTube. And it's a great panel, a great group of guys. I love hanging out with them. They're a lot of fun. The chat is freaking awesome, just like the chat in this room. I enjoy getting questions and answering questions to the best of my ability. But I just love talking about things that are important to our country and to ourselves. For us to be there for each other as the best we can, because that's all we have. All we have is each other, and it's important that we feel like we're not alone in the world. But thank you for having me on here again, Bruce. Thank you so much.
And that wraps up for tonight, everybody. Thank you so much for showing up. And for now, the balcony is closed.